Hi, guys. I wanted to jump on here because I had a thought I wanted to share. I had like a crazy thing I heard about that I wanted to share. And I asked my team, every now and then I have things that come into my head that I think would be valuable to hear about, but they're not part of our like regular show. Would it be okay if I record, let's say, bonus episodes? And they were like, absolutely, we love that. I just wanted to ask them first before I started recording because I wanted to make sure we had the capacity, the bandwidth. So I'm excited because now I get to do bonus content, which is really fun. So the craziest thing happened to my neighbor yesterday, and I wanted to share. I got a knock at the door, and it was my neighbor who really keeps to himself. He never really comes over here. And he was telling me that he is dealing with having his identity stolen. And it's the craziest story. So he was traveling in Europe. He's European. They go for like 2 months during the summer. So he was gone for quite a while. But before he left, he ordered his new driver license in California, and it was getting delivered. And he got an email when he was traveling that it got delivered. And then he started getting all of these random text messages and emails from different services like T-Mobile, credit card companies, all kinds of services that were letting him know his application had been approved or that they needed more information. And he's international. So he's kind of like, what is going on? And when he got back to the US, he realized his license had been stolen out of the mail. And he was trying to resolve this and figure out, like, first thing he did, put a freeze. I can't remember if it was a freeze or a lock, something. There's a difference. And I probably should have looked them up ahead of time. One of them is like, absolutely nothing comes and goes on your credit. And another one is like less locked down and more like you have to approve things, or there might be some level of approval and then things go through. So I can't remember which one he did, but he put a credit freeze and he thought, okay, I'll just deal with the license, have it replaced, and then look and see what credit has been opened or what's going on with accounts that might not actually belong to me. So he was kind of dealing with all of that. And then he had ordered a new credit card and he set up UPS tracking to ensure that he knew when it got delivered. So he was home one day and the card got delivered, but he didn't get an alert. So he was like, that's odd. And he's sitting in his house on a call and he saw the package get delivered and he's at his dining room table looking out towards his walkway. And all of a sudden he sees a man walk up the walkway. Mind you, this is right there. That's his house right there, right next door to me. We live on a hill. It's very remote. It's a dead end at the end of the hill. People usually don't come up here unless they have somebody that they're going to visit or they have a purpose or they live up here. It's not like a place where people come and go just because they're driving through. There's no way out, right? It's a dead end. So, and his house is on a curve. There's no numbers. You cannot, when you drive up the street, you cannot see his mailbox or anything like that. But the package was delivered and he was like, because he was supposed to be alerted, but he wasn't. He sees a man walk up the driveway. He stops the guy. The guy picks up the package. And this man is really scared. And he looks down and sees a car with a driver and the door is open and the driver just takes off up the street. And like I just told you, the guy has to come down because there's no way out at the top. So my neighbor is like trying to detain this guy who seemingly just stole a package off his driveway. And he's trying to also figure out what to do with the guy coming down the street. And so he decides, okay, I got to get this license plate. So he took the make, model of the car, the license plate, and then the guy leaves, this other guy just sitting there. And the story with the guy that grabbed the package is that he's actually a worker at our other neighbor's house who's doing backyard work. And my neighbor truly believes this guy was just being a good Samaritan. the man in the car drove up and said, hey, I'm disabled. I can't bend over, but I just had a package delivered. Would you help me bend over and pick it up? It's just right next door. I'll drive you up because we're on a hill. So it's a little bit of a walk. And so this man was like, I don't know him. I'm just working at their house. I don't know anything about it. And my neighbor's like, I believe him. So this man who was in the car knew the package was getting delivered. So my neighbor's pretty clear that he intercepted his email and got the alert from UPS that the credit card was coming. And this is the crazy part, you guys. This is the kicker that I was like, so my neighbor had already opened a police report, and there were some other factors, like the guy tried to change his cell phone over to T-Mobile and change the SIM card, and he was successful in doing it. So my neighbor, Jonathan, lost his access to his cell phone for a period of time until he could confirm that that wasn't him that walked in the store. This guy's going around town with his driver's license, and he's setting up all kinds of accounts and services and things like that. Super brazen. And intercepting his email to change all of the notifications so that they go to him. But he called the police and he said, I have some more information. I have them make, a car license plate that I got. Here it is. And the officer takes it down. And then he says, what kind of car was it? And my neighbor's like, it was a AMG Mercedes, this model, brand new, $100,000 car, right? And he gives him the license plate and he goes, oh boy. And my neighbor's like, what is it? And he's like, this car was purchased and registered in your name. What? This is possible? This guy had the car delivered here while my neighbor was still in Europe. We did not see it, but apparently he bought the car online from Carvana somehow with just his credit card. I don't know if his his driver license. I don't know if his credit was still frozen. My neighbor told me that this $100,000 car has not shown up on his credit yet, but it is registered in his name. The license is in his name and the car was purchased with his name. So he was basically asking me if we have any issues with our mail. And we're lucky. I've mentioned many times, if you have listened to me on my Facebook Lives from the past, my house is right on the street. We're built into a hillside. I have a backyard with a bit more space, but the front of my house is basically on the street. And so I have a mail slot and it goes in my garage. So the mail doesn't really sit out. And if I get a package on my front door, I'm working from home. So I immediately go down and grab it. So I said, no, I haven't had any issues. We checked our security cameras from that day. I couldn't see anything, but it just made me aware that these scams, these crimes that are like identity theft and the cyber crimes of intercepting your email, maybe this guy somehow had a tie-in to the DMV because my neighbor said when he saw the guy, it looked like him. He said he had similar hair, similar build. He's like, I couldn't tell exactly because he was sitting down. His skin tone was a lot lighter than mine, but like same general face structure, shape, hair color, hairstyle, facial hair, all of that. So maybe someone at the DMV said, hey, I had someone come in. We don't know. And the police don't know. And they're still investigating because the crime threshold, right? Like, I think it's $30,000 of identity theft, like monetary, like what you're out of pocket. And this is well over $100,000 for this car. Like, what? This is so crazy to me. Had he not seen, so he also intercepted the email and the text messaging from UPS, from the credit card company, letting him know when the package was going to be delivered. So normally I would be like, oh my God, like this is crazy. However, I also wanted to mention that about a month ago, my husband was asked to give his bank account wiring instructions to a client to pay him for some consulting work. And the client said, we paid you. And my husband checked his account and said, it's not there. And they said, but we paid you and the money's gone and we paid you. And he kept looking and looking and it wasn't there. And then eventually the client, the company that paid him, realized that their email was being hacked. His email was intercepted, and someone went in and changed the routing number, the bank account number, and the name of the business ever so slightly. So it looked the same, but it was a different company name, different bank, very subtle changes. So my husband's email never went directly to the client and was intercepted by some third-party company who got the wire, and the money's gone. And it took him a while to convince the client, I did what you asked of me, and I did the work, and I'm out of pocket. And it was not insignificant, right? And so he finally did get paid. But the point of this is, holy moly, crazy story. Can you imagine someone intercepts your mail, gets your driver license, buys a car, tries to change your cell phone number? My neighbor was like, this is my full-time job dealing with this. It sucks. It's continuing to unfold because he has no idea the extent of all of the things that have been done in his name. And it just got me thinking, I have so many contractors working on my business. They're in my Gmail account. I have them with access to my PayPal, to my Stripe, to my email marketing, to my Kajabi, which is where I host all of my courses. And I love my team and I completely trust them. But they're all over the world. I have VAs in different parts of the world, and I have team members in, different parts of the world. And just, for a while, I was like, oh, I just generate a password and then I give it to them. I think that we need to be more locked down. And just for me, it's the thought, it's such an invasion. It just feels like such a violation of your privacy and things like that. But also the time commitment that it takes to fix these issues. And somebody else told my husband, so this isn't like, oh, I heard from a friend of a friend. These are like people that I know. My husband's business partner on some deals, his wife was contacted by a security, like a McAfee antivirus, and they told her about some fraud on her account. So they come at you from the sense of like, we're here to protect you. You're getting this call because we noticed fraud. And they asked her, they said, but we can't get to that level because maybe your account is inactive. You need to reactivate it. It's like $147 or whatever. So the woman gave her details in order to they gave a number and she called it back, and they answered and it sounded legit. This call's being recorded. It sounded very authentic. She gave their account. They took $30,000 out of the account, $30,000. And the bank was like, there's nothing we can do. It was a wire out of the account. It was approved, initiated by you and approved. They got her account access and drained the account, and it's gone. That's the only time I've ever heard of the money not being returned in some way. I had fraud on my account where I bought flowers for a friend, and the florist stole my credit card and then started paying people $500 through Venmo over and over and over again to the tune of like $36,000. Never got an alert for fraud on my account, nothing like that. And the bank, we went through and looked at every charge. Multiple people were paid multiple times, the same people multiple times. The bank took care of everything. It took months. And I said, what happens with the investigation? Is there a criminal investigation? Do they get away with it? What happens? And they wouldn't tell me. They just said, we handle it. We have a team that handles it. They decide the course of action. So just very scary. We hear about all this stuff, but I'm here to tell you that these criminals are getting way more sophisticated, way more brazen. I mean, to order a car and have it delivered to the victim's house, intercept the car carrier, sign the papers, and steal the car. Literally, my mind was blown. And I feel so bad for my neighbor. He's a good dude, young guy. It's not like, and he had a good attitude about it. He's just like, I have to laugh. And I'd be like, I would be crying. But so for me, my action items, I am going to go through. I have definitely had some kind of legacy passwords that I know were in data breaches on accounts that I don't use anymore. But I'm going to go through. Google will do this. So if any of you are using Google Business Suite, when you have them store your passwords, I have Google on two-factor authentication. They will store your passwords and they'll tell you if you have any passwords that have appeared on a data breach. So I know, and I've like, oh, they're old accounts. I don't use them anymore, but there might be personal information or a credit card that's active or something that's tied to those accounts. So I'm going to go in, and when I cancel a company, a service, I'm going to not just cancel it, but I'm going to delete, and not just deactivate the account, but delete it. That's when I'm going to make sure none of those passwords that were for sure on a breach, because Google will tell you when you log in, if it's a saved password, to change it because it's been on a data breach. And as annoying as this is going to be, I am going to start using LastPass, a password manager with like a two-factor authentication to get my team into all of my accounts, and wherever possible, set up two-factor authentication. So I get notifications all day long on my cell phone text messages and my email that members of my team are trying to get into my account, and they'll send a code and I have to go and share the code with them. So we do that through Slack. They will tell me, I'm trying to get into ActiveCampaign, your email software. I'm trying to get into Gmail. And sometimes the codes are good for 60 seconds. So you have to time it. Gmail will also send an authenticator code, and you have to pair them up, almost like pairing a Bluetooth device. So the person will say the code is 12 and you have 3 buttons to push, and you push the one that says 12 and then they're in. So just getting aligned with the team. Yes, it's an extra step, but thinking of all the time, the heartache, financial, downside that you experience when someone steals your identity or hacks an account. It's scary, so don't click any links. If you have a mailbox that's facing the street, change it to a locked mailbox. Lock your stuff down, you guys. This was one of the craziest cases of identity theft I've ever heard. My neighbor goes to leave and I'm like, enjoy your $100,000 AMG Mercedes, Jonathan. Mind you, he has a car he's had the entire time we've lived here for almost 15 years. Not a flashy guy, usually rides his motorcycle everywhere. So he just had to laugh. He's like, this guy's living my life better than I do, So lock it down, you guys. I'm going to do it and you should too. So, I hope you enjoyed the bonus episode. I'm going to share other content that's probably more related to your agency. I also love sharing content about just things to think about in your life and your family and your home, and getting organized and being productive and just implementing better habits. To me, this is one of those hard to switch it over to something that is more locked down and a little more challenging to access all the time. However, the benefit is immeasurable, right? Lock it down, and I will too. All right, guys, I'll see you soon for our next regular episode and maybe a bonus or two.